Today's episode of the Presleevables is brought to you by Tales of Adventure.
First of all, you're going to want to head over to toamagic.com. That's the website for Tales of Adventure, where you can find the best deals on singles and seal product from standard releases all the way up to vintage. For the higher end cards, those cards come with individual scans, so you can actually see the card that you're purchasing before you make a decision. Also, be making sure to follow at TOA Michael on Twitter. That's the handle for the store owner, Michael Caffrey. He regularly posts sales and deals throughout the week, so you're going to be wanting to follow that account as well. Lastly, make sure to use promo code Resleevables at checkout for 8% off any order, and keep in mind that all domestic orders are shipped with free tracking. Again, that's toamagic.com, at TOA Michael on Twitter, and use promo code Resleevables at checkout for 8% off of your order.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Presleevables Wilds of Eldraine edition. Cedric Phillips, I'm your host, at Cedric A. Phillips and all the things. Patrick Sullivan, he's the one with the most, at Basic Mountain on Twitter. We, Patrick, have already done mechanics review. We've done white cards. We've done blue cards. Everybody can go check those out. But now we're here for the rats.
Oh, yeah.
The black cards.
For you rat enthusiasts out there, of which I count myself among,
I am a big rat fan.
there's a lot of content here.
Yes. I am thrilled that rats are coming back, I guess I'll say, in Magic. It feels pretty nice. So as we've done for our previous episodes, we'll be doing the same for here. I will be providing a top 5 list of the black cards that I think are going to be the best in competitive play. And Patrick will be providing a top 5 list of
my favorite designs. What I think the best designs, coolest, most novel, most evocative, and so on and so on.
All right, let's get this party started. No time to waste. Candy Grapple is where I am going to begin things. It is a colorless and a black, so it's a 2-mana instant with Bargain. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. If this spell was bargained, that creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn instead. I've cast a Last Grasp in my day.
Not too proud.
No. Gotta kill that creature somehow. And there are certain metagames where instant speed -3/-3 is totally fine. We'll get the job done on plenty of things. Can also help you win in combat. And then bargaining to -5/-5 is going to kill quite a few more things, assuming you have the game pieces to do so. So I'm a fan.
Very natural scaling, too. Turn 2, when you don't have access to bargain, this should kill most things on curve. Mm-hmm. As the game progresses, you get a 2-mana removal spell that should handle close to everything. Very tempo efficient, assuming that bargain isn't a hard thing for your deck to enable.
And there will be situations, of course, where the -5/-5, maybe it doesn't kill the creature, but maybe it's let's say it's a 6/6. Okay, well, you only take 1 point of damage, which could be all the difference in a world.
Or maybe they blocked your rat.
Also, that big mistake if they do that.
Won't do that twice.
Also, Candy Grapple has really cool artwork as well, so I'm a fan of that card from that perspective as well. That's number 5 for me, a simple black removal spell. Over for you, number 5 is The End. 2 black instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if your life total is 5 or less. So in that circumstance, it'll just be BB to cast. Exile. This is an instant. That's very important, actually. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that permanent, and exile them. It's a lobotomy effect. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. Okay. We have seen this type of effect plenty of times in Magic. This is only creature or planeswalker, so it's not named any card. Gets everything from the graveyard, the hand, and the library, and then if you peel any from their hand, they get to draw a card. But it could be cheaper, which is a weird thing to add on here. So what are we thinking?
Well, for starters, I really love cards that start with the word "the." If I was still commentating tournaments, I would have had a blast with this one.
Resolves the end.
The end.
Yeah.
Is the plural the ends or these end? It's just it's open season.
I don't know.
So the lobotomy, eradicate, cranial extraction effects, they have a long history of being very popular relative to power level.
Agreed.
There is something really fun and satisfying about removing all copies of cards from your opponent's deck, and it's noteworthy to me that this design space is so fun that they continue to do it in spite of it not working in Commander at all.
Okay.
Like it is sort of a casual, like historically has been associated with sort of a casual thing because it's so much more popular than it is powerful on the designs in question.
Yeah.
But they still crank them out even though they don't work in Magic's ostensibly most popular casual format.
Okay. Yep.
Says a lot.
Okay.
I also think this is a pretty novel way of kind of splitting up the difference here. On turn 4 for 4 mana, that's usually when the lobotomy style effect is going to be the best
Normally this one is firing off.
because it's most likely to really attack your opponent's game plan, and you're the most likely to get copies out of their hand.
Sure.
But so as you get lower and lower in your life total, going down to 5, usually, not always, but usually that speaks to playing a longer game where the lobotomy is not going to be as powerful typically as it normally is. But they give you a different kicker or a different bonus, which is this card costs 2 less, which is something you really appreciate when you're on the back foot, because that's when you need to be casting a cheap removal spell and then use your mana to do something else.
Yep.
So the story is great. I think the cranial extraction, eradicate lobotomy stuff is just awesome on its own. And I think the way the card is structured, it's not just like random stuff. I think will actually play pretty well because you appreciate the bonus that you're getting on turn 4 more than you appreciate later on in the game. And the different bonus you get later on in the game is something you appreciate more than the lobotomy you would have gotten on turn 4.
Okay.
Cool stuff.
I'm also going to point out the artwork on this card too, because it's really unique and cool. So we're 2 for 2 on cool art, but there's a lot of awesome art in this set.
There is.
We're going to go number 4 on my list. Spoiler alert, no overlap between the two of us in this episode. Well, I guess that's not technically true because we've got plenty of rats. Lord Skitter, Sewer King, is making its arrival. It's 2 and a B, so it's a 3-mana legendary rat noble. I love the idea of a rat being a noble. It's a 3/3, excuse me, and whenever another rat enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. Okay. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. So we'll get this out of the way right now. These rat creature tokens in this set, they can't block.
Yeah.
They're only beatdowns, which is kind of interesting. So here's what I thought of when I first saw this card, which I know is not the perfect comparison, but I'm going to go with it. I thought of Goblin Rabblemaster a little bit.
Sure.
Now, of course, Goblin Rabblemaster, the goblin that it creates, it has to attack, and of course, it effectively, well, it just does have haste, the one that's made. So you play Goblin Rabblemaster on turn 3, you get a 2/2, go to attack step, make a goblin, and the goblin beats down. Sometimes it runs into, a creature, whatever, right? But when Goblin, there's also the play pattern, right, where Goblin Rabblemaster, you play it post-combat, so the 1/1 doesn't die. Maybe it would run into a lifelinker or something. Okay. So our good friend here, Lord Skitter, does that same thing as Goblin Rabblemaster in some respects of it makes a bozo at the beginning of combat. Now, of course, this 1/1 can't block, so you're going to want to be offensive with this card. And then it is a little bit of a way to check the graveyard a little bit. And then, of course, this thing is base level bigger than Goblin Rabblemaster, as this is a 3/3, but Goblin Rabblemaster has a higher ceiling of becoming a 5/2, 6/2, whatever. I don't know if this card's great, but like this is the kind of card that does see constructive play just because it does leave stuff around.
Yeah, I mean, this card is far less explosive than Rabblemaster.
Yes.
But you get a larger body, and if your opponent's doing anything oriented around the graveyard, this card's a major pain.
Yeah.
I like the execution of rats, a little off topic here.
Okay.
I think can't block is really sharp to do here. A couple reasons. One, the rats here, like this is telling a story I would of it like eating the trash.
Okay.
Like rats are not out there playing defense. They're like trying to find food and search for stuff. That's an argument for can't block.
Yep.
Rats are also really small.
Okay.
Very easy to step around.
Yep.
Again, argument for can't block. Lastly, one of the play pattern issues that comes up with tokens is just the sea of chump blockers. And this obviously does not work that way.
Yeah.
Because they can't chump block.
I like the idea of like if you were to walk through an alley and see some rats, they all just like kind of skitter away.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they're not here to fight you.
Right.
They just want, their food or the garbage or whatever and then just go away.
Yeah.
But they'll also probably give some beatdowns if you bother them.
Oh, and we're going to get to some beatdown artists in a little bit here.
Yeah. So, Lord Skitter, welcome to the Rat Clan. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that Magic is embracing rats. And I think this card might surprise some people, mostly in standard, not really in other formats. We're going to go to number 4 for you. More rats. Tangled Colony, 1 and a black creature, rat. It is a 3/2 that can't block, which makes sense given the rat conversation we just had. And then when Tangled Colony dies, create X/1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block, where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn. So if it gets blocked by a big O, you're going to get a bunch of rats.
This is the one card in the spoiler, reading through it earlier today, that caused me to laugh.
Sure.
It's just such a funny story of just how many rats are back there. And you like kick the wall.
Yeah.
20 rats come out.
And you're like, oh, geez.
I thought there was like 1 or 2 maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a whole nest there. That really just kind of tickled me the right way. I also think the gameplay here is pretty good.
Okay.
I like the ability to attack into larger things without the workaround being some sort of evasion.
Okay, sure.
This can attack into your 4/4, but not because it has flying.
Yep.
Because you got to make a call here about whether or not you can handle it. Also nice to give the token style decks creatures and permanents that are not tokens, but can still speak to the token thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also cool synergies you can do with this, Blasphemous Axe style stuff or whatever.
I'm also going to note, I'm a big fan of this. 2 toughness.
Yeah.
So it just can't be blocked by like a 1 power creature, like an elf or something.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it can, but you do that, make a rat.
No, you don't get it. It's only on death.
Oh,
Your
okay.
opponent can chump this thing with a 1/1.
Oh, okay. I read that wrong. Well, that's part of it. That's part of going through
That's
cards.
another thing that's different than the way these designs get executed.
Okay, yeah. So only when it dies. Okay, so yeah, I was thinking if they chump block you, get to make a rat, so they never want to do that. But okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like very charming story, great play pattern. And another thing I want to talk. You were mentioning your enthusiasm about rats. I think that rats are really good to be more prevalent in Magic because something that Magic kind of struggles with is how do you do cute in black? Not that rats are the cutest thing necessarily, but so much of their stuff is like skeletons and vampires and
sure,
all sorts of very terrifying horror tropey kind of things.
Scorpions.
Yeah, where are there mammals that aren't like inherently malevolent creatures? Very little of that.
One thing that I like about this set that I am going to try to get this one right, there are rats, and then there are also mice.
Yes.
Which is actually kind of cool because the rats that we've seen so far, like their artwork is very scary. But the mice seem like a little bit nicer.
But up to a point, like it is scary a little bit, but some of them are kind of like Lord Skitter I would not describe as scary.
Wait,
Lord Skitter is a little cartoony.
Lord Skitter is a noble.
Yeah.
The leader of the rats.
Yeah, but the rank and file rats, the non-sentient ones or whatever, do err a little bit. Scary, I guess.
I would say that the rats in Tangled Colonies picture are scary.
This one is pretty frightening.
They mean business.
Yeah.
They mean business. Okay. Number 3 for me. Not Dead After All. Single black, instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield, tapped under its owner's control, then create a Wicked Roll token attached to it. For those of you unaware, the Wicked Roll token is enchanted creature gets +1/+1. When this aura is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. So, we have seen multiple types of these cards recently, most notably in Rakdos Evoke, even though some people like to call it Scam. This is Feign Death and Undying Malice, but better.
Yeah.
It's the exact same card, except for you get an aura, and then if they kill your grief, they lose 1.
Yeah, and +1/+1 on a creature with menace is not, or double strike in the case of Fury is not small.
Yeah, so those other effects in Feign Death and Undying Malice both grant that as well. So you're getting the +1, like this is effectively the exact same card as those 2 cards, except for you also have your opponent lose a life, which leads me to believe that this card is just better than the other 2. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could theoretically disenchant the aura in a way that they can't. You're straining.
True.
Yeah, it's straining.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds much stronger in that context.
Yeah, and this is a very simple review. Like, I think this card just slots into Rakdos Evoke in Modern, assuming that deck is still good or whatever, that Jake Beardsley won that Pro Tour with, and boom, done and dusted. That's all I got for number 3. So I'm coming over to you. Lich Knight's Conquest. All right, what do we got here? 4 and a black, so 5 mana sorcery. Sacrifice any number of artifacts, enchantments, or tokens. So all things that you would use for, what's that ability? Bargain. Return that many creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. So this is like a mega zombify.
Yeah, this seems to me, there's so many different approaches you can take with this card.
Okay.
It reads very simply, but it's an extremely open-ended and appealing puzzle. In a way that some of the mass reanimates are often balanced around just the mana being too much.
That's really expensive.
They're just really expensive.
Sure.
Typically.
Okay.
This one's like 5 mana is not that much. Certainly if you're playing Commander and even in competitive settings. And there's a lot of different things going on because you need to have your bargain stuff on the table and then fill up your graveyard with creatures. We're not talking about the easiest thing to set up, but also like zombifying 2 creatures is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just depending on what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you have to go super, super hard to make this worth the time and effort.
Sure.
And the ceiling on it is really, really high if you want to go into the deep end in terms of trying to mill yourself over a ton and have a bunch of tokens to enable the thing.
So this is one of the cards where it's like, you got to work for it, but it is castable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that's notable here that you're mentioning is, yeah, there's some work to be done here. And this might not even be one of those times, right, where it's like, all right, I've got some big O's in my deck, and that's all part of it. Like, they're not really castable, but I got to get them in the graveyard. It could just be like, I don't know, I'm just like a black-based mid-range deck with some garbage lying around, and then like I have like 2 of these in my deck to just go like, boop, you lose kind of thing.
Like, could you imagine playing this in the sort of Jund-style oven decks from a couple of years ago?
Yeah, sure.
That's not a reanimator deck.
Yeah.
But the opportunity cost was pretty low.
Yep.
You had 5 and 6 mana creatures in the deck. Sure. I could totally see this card being something to consider for a deck like that, which you would totally not describe as a reanimator deck.
For sure.
That would just be a value play.
Yeah.
But you could also try to do the mass reanimation stuff with this too. I just like it's very simple. It's not. So I think sometimes a lot of their build around these are more recently are just kind of tough to read and understand what's going on.
Yep.
A little too specific in what they're trying to enable. And this is very open-ended. You could go shallow with this as a value play or try to do a much larger living death style reanimate.
Yeah.
And I think people, at least in commander settings, are going to try to do both.
All right. This is number 2. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is my actual favorite one, even though it's not number 1. I think number 1's pretty clear cut. But this is Virtue of Persistence. So this is a 5 mana, 7 mana enchantment. Be way too good at 5. 5 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That's any graveyard, worth noting. And then, of course, there's the adventure portion of this card, Lockvane's Scorn. 1 and a black sorcery. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. So a little bit different from the earlier removal spell that we went over. That was Candy. Where are you? Candy Grapple. Fun name to say. So this one, sorcery speed as opposed to instant speed. Don't have the upside, of course, of bargaining and doing -5/-5. But you do get 2 life. And you can, of course, I imagine, see a play pattern where just like on turn 2, kill your creature, gain 2 life, vicious hunger style of play. And then also this could just be your win condition.
It's a very efficient use of adventure in that way.
Yeah.
Which is both of these cards probably not quite good enough to play on their own, just a little bit short.
Yep.
And what's the reason? It's when you have one half of this and it's bad, you really want something like the other half.
Yes.
When a 7 mana card is in your hand rotting away, you typically feel that when you're under pressure. Cool. Removal spell and gain some life. That's a cushion.
Yep.
When -3/-3 and gain 2 is not good, it's usually because the opponent is playing some other play pattern or the game is just evolved to a state where too much powerful stuff is going on, and that sort of nickel and dime transaction is not what the game is about anymore.
Yep.
Now you have another haymaker that you can play in that spot.
Yeah, I love this card. This just feels like for a black-based mid-range deck in standard, but I wouldn't wouldn't be crazy to me if this saw play in other formats. If I'm being honest, like the modern Rakdos deck, I'm not saying it needs it, but like if it did choose to play just one for late game upside in those kind of mid-rangey slogs, in Pioneer, I think I said that, not modern, but yeah, I could see that being a thing. So sure, I mean, I really like this card a lot. Still not number one on my list, because I think number one's an easy one, but I like it a ton. Now, number two on your list is Fairy Fencing. X and a black. Instant. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. That creature gets an additional -3/-3 until end of turn. If you control this fairy as you cast this spell, notably not when the spell resolves.
Yeah, I mean, the kill your thing in response and now all the dominoes fall is not the most fun thing, and it's also not the most intuitive thing for players who don't have mastery of the rules.
Yep.
So I think that's the right thing to do. Again, removal spells that speak to a particular archetype or style of deck or creature type or whatever, but that's not only usable if you're playing with those creatures. I have a lot of appreciation for, particularly in draft. This is also a pretty cool one to do with fairies specifically.
Okay.
Because fairies play a lot of flash creatures, some of which are quite cheap. So you can actually set up a spot where your board is empty and you go cast a flash fairy, do this. I've actually saved mana because the fairy costs 1 mana, but I'm getting -3/-3 worth of value on the removal spell.
Yeah.
So even though it's not that at all, you're just playing your 1/1 flash flyer and murder.
Sure.
It will definitely feel like I just Black Lotused.
Yeah.
So
I got some value.
Yeah, getting that sort of experience in a card that's this simple and just kind of workmanlike, I think, is really, really solid design.
All right. I've teased it long enough. Number one with a bullet for me is Beseech the Mirror. 1 BBB sorcery. Bargain is all part of it. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If this spell was bargained, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. If that spell's mana value is 4 or less, put the exiled card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way. So either I cast this without bargaining, basically tutor for a card, or I can, if I bargain, I tutor for a card, and if it's 4 or less, I get to play it for free. And that's just really powerful. I understand the casting cost is a little bit prohibitive, with triple black being in the casting cost, but assuming you've got something around to bargain, which I think is completely reasonable, I'm going to make this would be really good Fable of the Mirror Breaker thing again. Because obviously it would be, because Fable gives you plenty of things to bargain away. But also in that standard format, you were playing Invoke Despair, which was quadruple black. So triple black here would have been very easy to do as well. Card just seems really powerful, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, Diabolic Tutor, not a 0 in standard over the course of its life. It's shown up usually in spots where you're cheating mana somehow, but still not a 0.
Yep.
And what was the Spell Mastery Tutor? The 5 and get 3 back?
Dark Petition.
Yeah, so this is 4, get 4 back.
That's what it looks like.
At a much lower deck building opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm. Seems really good.
And this also can get around any color restrictions. Yeah. Lots to think about here.
So when I saw this card, the first thing that happened to me was just, Brian Cook.
Of course.
Yeah, Stormmaster. I was just like, I bet he's excited about this card. There's no way he's not excited about this card. And, Dark Ritual is legal in the formats he plays.
What I do like about this, there's a lot going on. This is definitely some playing with fire territory.
Sure.
Obviously. If you put Dark Ritual and Demonic Tutor and Black Lotus on the same card, some amount of time there's going to be some consequences to that.
Indeed.
So I'm not saying this is necessarily a safe design. It might end up being quite strong. But again, if you're imagining the Dark Ritual Storm experience or sort of comboing someone out in one turn, a lot of those styles of decks historically, it would not be trivial for them to have something to bargain with.
Yeah, I agree.
It would be work for them, or they would be down in mana because they would have to cash something in, whatever. Yeah. So if you're going to do this sort of thing, and I think there's an argument for doing it for all the reasons that you and I are talking about, it's like, wow, this is so exciting. There's so much to think about here. Mm-hmm. It feels very dangerous, and it very well might be. It's hard for me to... I'm not great at building decks like that, so it's hard for me to say. But I think that bargain is one of the safer ways to execute this sort of thing if you want to.
I agree. This is the card to me in the set that I think is the most powerful. And again, even though the casting cost is a little bit restrictive in triple black, I think that decks will be able to figure out how to do it. Again, if you look at the previous standard format where Invoke Despair was legal, it was legal in a 3-color deck. That was arguably the best deck in the format in Grixis or Rakdos, which is 2-color. Pioneer decks, as you get to older formats, of course, the mana gets better and better and better in most cases. So I think this is going to be extremely, extremely castable and extremely powerful. So I'm going to go to number 1 for you. Time to go back to the rats.
Yeah.
Lord Skitter's Butcher.
Oh, yeah.
What good lord doesn't need a
The
butcher?
Ratatouille himself.
That's right. 2 and a black, so 3 mana rat peasant. When Lord Skitter's Butcher, that's a tough one to say, sort of, enters the battlefield, choose 1. Create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. Okay. You may sacrifice another creature. If you do, scry 2, then draw a card. Or creatures you control gain menace until end of turn, and it's a 2/3.
So,
What can't this butcher do?
I do love this card.
He slices, he dices.
Random uncommon. I don't think good enough to play in standard or whatever. But I'll explain to you what I like. One, Lord Skitter's Butcher. What a great name. Because setting aside that Lord Skitter is the rat noble, and if you know that, you kind of know the joke.
Yeah.
If you just saw this name for the first time, you would assume it's some sort of demonic entity.
Sure.
The butchers in black, it's like that sort of Diablo dungeon sort of style.
Yeah.
And then the hat of just the art of just the rat with the chef's hat on. It's a tiny little hatchet. It's just too good.
Just getting some work done.
So this is a card that sparks a lot of joy. Start there.
Sure.
Really good distribution of stuff here for what the rat deck would want to do. All right, make a rat. Easy enough to understand why I want to do that.
You know what that is? That's bring your buddy to work day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. Sacrifice another creature. If you do, scry 2, then draw a card. Cool, I got a bunch of rats laying around. Maybe the board's a little clogged up. Maybe I'm trying to find my bomb or whatever. Easy enough. Go ahead and sack the thing.
You know what that is? That's kill your buddy at work and feed him to the king.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff there.
Very common.
Stuff.
And then last, creatures you control gain menace until end of the turn. You have a sea of 1/1 creatures that can't block, and the board is sort of stalled out. Very easy to imagine that you would want menace for your team for the turn.
Yeah.
And it does all of this without calling out rats or rat synergies. Yes, it makes a 1/1 token, but plenty of cards make 1/1 tokens. The rest of this is just random stuff you see on black cards.
It's true.
It's not really loudly that this is a rat matters thing, but in the context of making a bunch of 1/1 tokens that can't block, all the powers are really useful and speak to what the person would want.
This card's cool.
It's just really hilarious.
It's a cool card. This is the kind of card that I would want a foil of.
Yeah.
Just to kind of have it.
I have one foil playset. Do you know what it is?
No.
Because I like to have playsets of cards to shuffle around that I like to look at.
Yeah.
I'm not really into foils.
You keep a wide collection of just random stuff that you have.
My one foil playset is Ursa's Destiny Ravenous Rats.
Oh yeah, that's right. You showed me these.
Yeah,
ones. Yeah.
I am a bona fide rat and rats fan.
You celebrate a wide amount of the Magic catalog.
Lord Skitter's Butcher is so great.
I'm just glad they're back.
Also, rat peasant is such a funny creature type because it's like, what do you mean peasant? Like it's a rat. It doesn't. There's no social hierarchy, but yes, there is.
You work for me.
Yeah,
That's what Lord Skitter said.
Incredible.
You're above all the other rats, and here's your little hat.
It is really whimsical and fun without it being unserious or feeling like it's trying to tell a joke.
Yeah.
It's hard to thread that, and this card does it really, really well. Love this.
Quick rundown of the list now, everybody. Number 5 for me was Candy Grapple. Number 4 was Lord Skitter, Sewer King. Number 3 was Not Dead After All. Number 2 was Virtue of Persistence. And number 1 was Beseech the Mirror. For Patrick, number 5 was The End. Number 4 was Tangled Colony. Number 3 was Lich Knight's Conquest. Number 2 was Fairy Fencing. And number 1, of course, Lord Skitter's Butcher. That means that mechanics, white, blue, and black are done. That means we're turning over to red. Your favorite color,
Yeah.
some would say.
Before we get into that,
Oh, yes.
consider this to be a PSA. I'm throwing it out there.
Okay.
In the event, I don't know what the collector's boosters and sort of auxiliary products are going to look like.
Okay.
But if they make serial numbered Lord Skitter's Butcher and you happen to open one, you come find me.
Okay.
We can work out a deal.
Okay, it's been noted. He'd like one butcher. Ideally the first one.
Yeah, 1 of 1.
001. Red cards means more rats, among other things. So gear up for that, and we'll see you for our next episode in just a bit.